The dinner party felt stiff from the very beginning. One of those evenings where smiles are forced and conversations stay shallow. My wife barely left her best friend's side, laughing too loudly and leaning into her husband's personal space in ways that made me uneasy. I stayed quiet, choosing patience over confrontation, until she suddenly leaned toward me, her lips tight with anger. "Apologize to my best friend's husband," she whispered sharply. "I'm filing for divorce." The words landed cold and rehearsed, like she'd practiced them before. I looked at her, stunned, not by the threat, but by how easily she used it. Across the table, her friend's husband avoided my eyes, while her best friend watched me closely, almost nervously. The room buzzed with casual chatter, unaware that my marriage had just been reduced to an ultimatum. That was the moment I realized silence would only protect lies. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't ask what I was supposed to apologize for. I simply stood up. The scrape of my chair cut through the noise, drawing attention. My wife's expression shifted into a smug smile, convinced she had won. I walked around the table slowly and deliberately, every step steady. Conversations began to fade as people sensed something was wrong. I stopped in front of her best friend's husband, who now looked deeply uncomfortable. I extended my hand politely. "Hey," I said calmly. "I'm sorry." A few people relaxed, assuming the tension was over. Then I finished my sentence. "I'm sorry. I don't want you sleeping with my wife." The silence that followed was absolute. No laughter, no gasps, just shock. His face went pale. My wife froze. But her best friend's reaction was the one that truly changed everything. She didn't explode or laugh nervously. She went completely still, her fork hovering in midair. Slowly she turned, not toward me, but toward my wife. Her eyes narrowed with sudden understanding. "What did he just say?" she asked quietly. My wife scoffed, waving it off. "He's being dramatic." But her friend didn't look convinced. She stood up slowly, her chair tipping back. "How long?" she asked, her voice controlled but dangerous. My wife opened her mouth, then closed it. The room felt frozen. Her husband tried to interrupt, rambling excuses, but she raised a hand and silenced him instantly. Then she looked at me. "You didn't say that for no reason," she said. I met her eyes. "No," I replied evenly. "I didn't." That was when the truth began to surface right in front of everyone. My wife snapped then, accusing me of humiliation and jealousy, but no one was listening anymore. Her friend began asking sharp questions: dates, messages, late nights, work trips. The answers came slowly, poorly, and inconsistently. Whispers spread across the table. Someone muttered, "Oh my God." The host looked panicked, unsure whether to step in or pretend nothing was happening. Her friend's husband finally dropped into his chair, face buried in his hands. My wife turned on me, eyes blazing. "You just ruined everything," she hissed. I shook my head calmly. "No," I said. "I just stopped lying for you." Her friend let out a short, bitter laugh. "You threatened him with divorce?" she asked my wife. "To protect this?" My wife couldn't answer. Silence answered for her. Her friend grabbed her purse and stood up straight. "We're leaving," she said flatly. Her husband reached for her arm. She pulled away. "Not you," she said. Then she turned to me. "Thank you," she said quietly. That stunned everyone. My wife stared at her in disbelief. "You're thanking him?" she snapped. Her friend's reply was ice cold. "He gave me the truth. You gave me betrayal." Chairs began moving as guests stood awkwardly, unsure where to look. The dinner party collapsed into stunned silence. My wife looked at me like I was a stranger. In that moment, I was no longer the man she could threaten into obedience. The truth had changed everything, and she could feel control slipping through her fingers. The car ride home was explosive. She shouted, blamed me, and promised revenge. I drove in silence, eyes fixed on the road. When we reached the house, I went inside and packed a bag, but not mine. I set it by the door and looked at her calmly. "You can still file," I said, "but you won't use divorce to control me again." She stared at the bag, shock slowly replacing anger. The threat that once frightened me no longer worked. She realized it too late. She grabbed the bag and left without another word, slamming the door behind her. For the first time in years, the house felt quiet and honest. The next morning, her best friend called me. Her voice was steady, but worn down. "I'm filing too," she said. She paused, then added, "I wish I'd seen it sooner." I told her the truth. So do I. Sometimes it takes someone else's courage to finally speak your own. She thanked me again and hung up. That call closed a chapter for both of us. Lies collapse quickly once exposed. There's no dramatic recovery, no clever explanation that survives daylight, only consequences. The divorce moved faster than I expected. Affairs don't age well when proof exists. Messages surfaced, stories unraveled. Mutual friends stopped taking sides and began backing away. My wife tried to rewrite the narrative, but the facts refused to cooperate. The power she thought she held dissolved completely. I stayed calm, focused, and detached. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. People later asked if I planned that moment at the table. I didn't, but I was ready for it. Calm isn't weakness, it's clarity. When you stop protecting lies, the truth does the work for you. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't insult anyone. I simply spoke the truth out loud. She tried to control me with an ultimatum. Instead, she exposed herself in front of everyone who mattered. And all I did was apologize for something I refused to accept. Sometimes the most devastating truth is spoken politely.